Tennessee beat NC State 51-10 last night. This is what ascension mode for a team looks like. Now, the bad news, if you were here for entertainment, is this game was not for you. This gets a 1 chalice out of 5 rating, not even chali. We didn't even get plural here, just 1 chalice. However, if you're a Tennessee fan, this was a 5 out of 5. What if I told you, this is like an inverse paper pop, this is like a paper fold stat. What if I told you Friday, Nico was going to go 16 of 23, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 picks? That sounds like a game that's a dogfight to me. That sounds like a game where he's played okay, but he's kept NC State in it, and then maybe NC State in Super Bowl mode, some magic happens. What if I told you Tennessee's only going to have 1 wide receiver above 40 yards? What if I told you that? If you told me that, I would have said, well, I'm going to take those 9.5 points you're offering me close to kickoff with NC State. Well, let's just see what happens. 51-10. That's what ended up happening. Former version of me. 51-10. Tennessee's defense is the big story here. I would say Tennessee's D is the big story, but I'd have to say immunity there. But there is a headline. And the headline is Josh Heupel's team is becoming one of the most balanced and one of the most complementary type teams in the SEC now. And I don't know that a lot of folks predicted that, even me, when he got hired. But you know what everyone comes here for Saturday night? You know what the biggest question about this show is on Saturday night, and that is, who's the special musical guest? And every Sunday night, not Saturday, it's the same person. And she comes in here, and she rolls her piano in here, and who's going to be the victim? That's what we want to know. Colin, cue it up. Sarah McLachlan special, Tennessee over NC State. After all that hype that I heard from Raleigh, after all the hype about NC State's passing game, and this increase in tempo, and Tennessee's weakness is the secondary, they're going to get after them. Tennessee outgained them 460 to 143. 143 in the yardage department, by the way, for NC State, the lowest total since 2009. 13 tackles for loss from Tennessee, 3 sacks. NC State was 3 of 14 on 3rd and 4th down, 1.4 yards per carry, so a little news flash, they couldn't get it done on the ground either. 3 turnovers. I present you NC State's closing drive chart. Punt, 3 and out, 3 and out, field goal, pick 6, 3 and out, fumble, turnover on downs, fumble, turnover on downs, 3 and out, 3 and out. End of game. So, I told you they had circled this game, and they did. They just, it turns out, circled a funeral, theirs. And that was the long and short of it. This was the best defensive performance I can remember seeing Tennessee have under Josh Heupel. NC State had 28 rushing yards, or 28 carries for 39 yards. Nothing worked. Nothing. Tennessee gets mediocre offensive play. This is kind of a close game, close to the half, and they just flex defensively. I think since Tennessee has not played a game, well, this one was kind of a marquee game, but I doubt all of America was watching this game. You're going to slip into the classic situation. People do it all the time. Number one, they think Tennessee just throws the ball all over the place, and in reality, they're one of the best rushing attacks in the country. Number two, and this is really new, people are going to think Tennessee, offensive, explosive team, outscore everyone, and people are going to have no clue. They're going to get to like the middle point of the season, and folks are going to have no clue. What we told you in the spring and what we reiterated all summer, Tennessee's going to have a really good defense. How good? We're figuring it out now, but Tennessee, they were so adamant when we were over there and we did our show there and we had Heupel on the show in the spring. All they wanted to talk about was defense. They weren't lying. They were not lying. There's no question to me this team has a higher ceiling than the 2022 team did. That team had the number 1 offense in the country. That team beat Bama. That team was sort of on the precipice of doing some magical things, and then Georgia shut them down. Good season, but ultimately a tier below where you want to be to compete for a championship. This is what you hope for. This is what you hope for. You've got a head coach who is a world-class offensive coordinator, a world-class offensive mind, but then your program starts to grow branches off of that. It's not a one-trick pony. They don't have to score 50 every week. This is the same thing Lincoln Riley's going through right now. And both of them, at Tennessee and USC seem to have their programs on the right track. It's not just a foregone conclusion that if you're an offensive-minded head coach, that's what the sole identity of your team has to be. In fact, the hallmark of the best is that the parts of their team that are not specialization parts in their own mind end up growing and end up improving, and that's what's happening. Like we're in the process of watching it happen with Tennessee right now. The only question that people have about Tennessee is one that's out of their control. It's a fair question, and it'll get solved very quickly, but right now it's out of their control. And that question is, well, what about Tennessee against real quality competition? What about Tennessee versus the best teams? The schedule has what it has. They beat Chattanooga. They just blew out NC State. I have a good feeling about them versus Kent State. And then we get to see them on the road at Oklahoma to open conference play. And that'll be one of the best defenses they face all year. That'll be one of the hottest environments they're in all year. You get a young quarterback on the road. You get Nico against Brent Venables. You get Josh Heupel against Oklahoma. And I know they can't overlook Kent State, but I will willingly admit to you I'm overlooking Kent State. That Tennessee at Oklahoma game in a few weeks. Of course, it's going to be one where if they win convincingly, people say, well, it's just Oklahoma. We don't do that on this show, though. So I'm looking forward to it, people. I'm very much looking forward to it. The current odds to win the SEC championship, Georgia number 1, Texas number 2, Bama number 3, Ole Miss number 4. Now, there is a pretty big gap, but then Tennessee's number 5. And, Jesse, we may need to snatch some of that up. I am surprised the gap is that wide still. Interesting. Well, FanDuel knows what they're doing.